Hey, greetings. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim. I'm here at my repair shop in Anchorage, Alaska, Donor Automotive. If you're in the area, come check it out. Got a quick tip on no start issues. This happens to be an 08 Ridgeline, but this tip will apply to at least Honda Pilots and Ridgelines around that vintage. And vehicle came in on the hook with a no start situation. A little backstory on this: we had informed the customer probably 50,000 miles ago that they were about 60,000 miles overdue for the timing belt water pump service. This is that 3.5 interference motor, and we just give them a heads up that they're well past the service interval for recommended replacement of the timing belt and water pump. We're up here in Alaska where the temperatures can both exceed and drop below a certain temperature where, the cold or hot is going to affect the longevity of your timing belt life. So they recommend replacement every 60,000 miles on this type of severe duty application. So anyway, with that in the mix, a Chevy comes in with a no start scenario like a Silverado or something. We know exactly where to go. These come in and with a scenario where it's well over the recommended maintenance for timing belt, we start suspecting that, which I did. Although it cranked and had compression, it sounded a little bit weird, and for whatever reason, that's where I went. Just lined up the cam marks and pulled the crank pulley and indexed everything, and my timing marks were good. So that was kind of a relief, especially for the customer, that we avoided an engine swap. But we're going to, by the way, do the timing belt after we're done getting this thing running. But after a few more checks, I determined it was not getting fuel to the motor, and that's commonly, in this case, or very common, that it's the PGMI main relay number 2. Could be the main relay number 1 or main relay number 2. And those are both located here in the fuse panel, in the underdash fuse panel. See if I can get a shot of it here. This blue one on the lower left here is PGMI number 2. That supplies voltage directly to the fuel pump. The number 1 relay is above that. Anyway, the process for diagnosing a fuel pump in this rig is testing for proper operation of that PGMI 2 relay. Again, that's a common fault there. I have never serviced a fuel pump on one of these rigs before. It's not saying much because I'm up here in the last frontier of auto repair, and I don't see a lot of Ridgelines. I do see quite a few Pilots, but never have I run into a fuel pump deal. But that's where it's got us going next. And if you want to trace that fuel system, which I did get voltage past the relay, proper operation of the relay, it was being signaled by the ECU properly. So what you do on the Ridgeline is it requires pulling the seat back here, which is fairly simple, and then there's an access panel for the fuel pump, and it's back here behind the seat, and then you can disconnect it here, and as you see, the pump is below this access panel. So if you need to replace the pump, it's right there with that threaded retaining collar there. But if you disconnect it then in your diagnosis, what you'll do is connector 5, which is this one in the lower left here, that's going to be the power supply to the pump. So if you install a voltmeter to pin 5, and that's grounded. And then from the key off position, turn the key on. For 2 seconds you should get fuel pump being energized to pin 5. If you get that, then you go over here with the test meter to ground and check for continuity from pin 4, the one on the bottom right. And upper left there is a blank terminal, and these are your sender terminals, so disregard those. But the lower right is going to be the ground, and you should have good continuity to ground, in which case I did in this case. And you can disconnect the fuel line here at the module and actually check for pressure there, or you can check for pressure as I did up top and verify you got good pressure there. But there's also a possibility of an ECU causing this problem. First thing you look for actually on no start scenarios on one of these is that flashing key, the green key light flashing, indicating a problem with the security immobilizer being locked out, and a problem with the chip key. Usually these get towed in and somebody's got the valet key in it and it won't start, and they don't start with the valet key. You got to have the chip key and in order for it to start. But you know, my first test of course was to make sure that the security system immobilizer was not energized. I pulled the codes, so anyway, I did spend a considerable amount of time to get back to the pump, but I did want to put a video out there to show that fuel pumps on these do fail. I'm sure somebody watching this video is like, yeah, I've done 10 of them, but it's a first for me. And it was a little intimidating until I found out exactly where it was located in the process for changing them, but it's a pretty slick location and doesn't require draining the tank as long as it's, you know, below 3/4 of the tank. You're not going to lose a bunch of fuel in the process, so we'll just clean that up and get our new pump. The side note, in Alaska here, the pump through the dealer could take me over a month to get, because it's classified as a hazardous shipping item, probably because it says fuel in the name of the part. I don't know if they prime the parts, but I'm going with an aftermarket supplier, a Delphi assembly through WorldPack, and they're going to be able to overnight it up here and save me a lot of money. It's a quality part I'm not concerned about using in this application, so we'll get this guy back on the road, and then of course I'll do the timing belt and water pump, and usually do the tranny service and rear diff service with the VTM fluid, and he'll be ready for a long summer of driving. Carefree, hassle-free, breakdown-free, hopefully, driving. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Appreciate you watching the Car Doctor channel, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.